BF faked death and then called my reaction manipulative. Me and my partner. I'm 21 years old and he's 24 years old. Together for 3 years, they now live separately but have plans to rent a place together shortly. Everything was wonderful up until this point. Background information: I have a history of self-harm. I'd been doing it since I was 11 years old. It had been 2 years since I had last done it. I have some awful scars, but I'm doing a lot better now that I'm in treatment. It's been a long time since I've ever had the desire to do so. My guy had an ex-girlfriend before me who was really good at playing mind games. I believe that is significant because he occasionally believes I'm engaging in gameplay when I am not. For example, when we first began dating, he was concerned that I might self-injure in order to get attention or punish him. His ex would threaten things like that if he ever left her. In spite of my difficulties, I am a kind and talkative person who strives to be helpful to those around me. Until this point, I thought we were at a pretty good place in our relationship. The main plot is on the boyfriend going out drinking with his pals. I typically get a call from him as soon as he comes home, about 2 a.m., to let me know he is safe and sound, but I didn't get any communication from him last night. I believed he'd just forgotten, so it was no great deal, and I went to bed as usual. He had left a slew of missed calls for me, and I woke up to find them all from his mother. They lived together. I phoned her back, and she texted me at 1 p.m. to say she was unable to speak. I confessed to her that I was a little concerned. She informed me that my boyfriend did not get home last night since he was involved in a car accident and did not make it. This was quite strange to me since I am friendly with his mother and would never expect to be informed of this by text message. After some further messaging, I realized what had happened. I was quite certain that my lover had died that morning, and I went into complete shock. On that particular day, all of the individuals that lived with me were gone, leaving me alone. Grief struck in very quickly, and I had an extraordinarily serious relapse in my self-harming behavior. At that point, it didn't matter to me since I was in so much pain and my typical coping mechanisms were failing me miserably. I listened to past voice notes of his and even wrote him a voice note in which I told him how much I loved him while crying uncontrollably in the most unhinged way I'd ever done. Well, he showed up at my house 20 minutes later and claimed it was all a prank because he had gotten into a minor accident and thought I would be upset about him driving drunk, as well as about him mucking up his car a little. So he and his friends devised this plan to simply make me happy that he was okay. As a result, they snatched his mother's phone and the events described above occurred. I was plainly relieved that he was still alive. However, I was experiencing a slew of other, far greater feelings. I was furious that he drove drunk. Furious that he saw nothing wrong with it. Furious that he would lie about something so severe. And totally saddened that he allowed me to sit in sadness for more than an hour until I gave him a voice message that made him feel guilty. In addition to a slew of other things that I'm still having trouble articulating. When he discovered that I had wounded him, he lost his cool and went off the handle. He said that I punished him and made what he described as a harmless prank into something far more serious, so ruining the joke. He said I was making him feel bad for having a good time, and that he can't trust me not to do it again. He even proposed that I spend a few weeks in the hospital to deal with my problems and then ramp up my treatment. He claims that he is unable to leave me at this time because else I would behave in the same manner as his ex-girlfriend. I'm in a lot of pain. To be honest, I definitely should seek counseling if I'm still turning to this behavior. But this was not a typical episode of anxiety or even a breakup. I was under the impression that he had passed away. I'm also acutely aware that his actions were very reckless, and that he is using his position to manipulate the situation. How is it a penalty if I believed he was no longer alive? I would certainly not respond in this manner if he had just ended his relationship with me, and I have never spoken or implied as much. I'm not sure what to do at this point. My intuition tells me to leave him because of this, but I'm not sure what to do. Update. To cut a long tale short, I ended my relationship with him because of the following reasons: driving under the influence, putting himself and others in risk, stealing his mother's phone and making me believe it was her, deception, telling me he was dead, deception/extreme emotional stress, allowing me to believe that for hours I could list every bad characteristic about him. Borderline sociopathic behavior. Not apologizing for any of these things, twat. Telling me I'm too sensitive, invalidation. Shifting responsibility. Being angry with me for relapsing, unsupportive, uncaring, unkind. I still will not blame him for the relapse, despite the wishes of many others here. That is my responsibility, and I continue to see a therapist on a regular basis for it. To those who are interested, I took a few days off to relax and rejuvenate. I did talk with his mother over the phone, and she was exceedingly kind in accepting my apology on his behalf. I showed her how to set a password on her phone, which she appreciated. After that, we got together and I went through the items I mentioned above. He seemed to be contrite and honest about all of them, and he paid close attention to what I had to say. Unfortunately, he didn't completely grasp the fact that being remorseful would not persuade me to reconsider my decision to stop the relationship, and his real colors were shown at the conclusion. He became irritated with me for terminating the conversation and once again accused me of being theatrical, among other invalidating reasons. Oh well, I've spoken what I needed to say, and that's sufficient closure for me at this point. Story 2. Wife asked me to take her back after she chose him, then changed her mind. A month ago, my wife of 10 years together, had an affair while I was away on business for a month. I was working on a crazy case that required me to sleep in a Florida hotel for 3 weeks so that I could be nearby for the 3-week trial. When I returned, the messages were still there. She admitted it, adding that she was lonely and that she wanted to be given another opportunity. She was forgiven. This happened literally the day before Thanksgiving last week. But I told her she would have to stop all contact with this person and that we would need therapy. She said last Saturday that she intends to see him because she feels she owes him that much. Whatever it is that you're talking about. She departed the next morning, promising me that his children were going to be there and that nothing was going to happen to me. Yes, I am tremendously fortunate. She ended her relationship with him after one more throw, but not before. As a result, she returns enraged with me. As a result, we didn't chat much the next day. Monday finally arrives. She informs me that she has to meet him again in order to decide if she wants to be with me or not at this time. She claims that if he wants her back, she will leave me, but that if he does not, she will return to her home in Germany. I informed her that if she decides to go, I will not stand in her way, but she should not return. She returns the next morning. She claims that she is still undecided about what she wants. It was my opinion that, if that was the case, she should consider staying someplace else for a bit. No one has space for her or is willing to take her in. She begs me to let her remain till the following morning so that she may contact a friend for her birthday party. I slept on the sofa in the living room. She calls me on Wednesday morning and tells me she wants another chance and that she would end her relationship with him over the phone. That's okay with me. She comes in weeping from outside, although she claims to have broken up with him. She then sends me all of her previous messages to demonstrate that she is not communicating with him. This may come out as unbelievable, but I'm really not that upset about the infidelity. I really mean it. But I'm intrigued as to how she was able to treat me in such a cruel manner. It wasn't the physical attraction, but rather the emotional connection and how she was over heels in love with this cat that drew me in, and I'm making an effort to give her another opportunity. Is it possible that I'm a fool? Is it possible for me to ever trust her again? Thank you so much for taking the time to read this. I've been saddened, and I'm grateful that I came upon this community.